Welcome back to the Court of History. I'm Sean Wilentz with my pal Sid Blumenthal, talking about all things connected with the law and the Trump administration, among other things, and whatever else comes to mind. Sid, the world,
Sean.
Sid, the world was awakened. I'd never heard of this thing before, but the world was awakened to the existence of a thing called Signal Chat a little while ago. It turns out that this thing has been rather promiscuously used by various Trump officials to talk about highly secret matters. Why don't you, in a few words, just sum up what the scandal is around Signal Chat?
Well, in a few words, I would say illegal, breach of national security, and complete internal shambles now.
Yes.
We're now at the point where Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, was announced to be fired. And then soon afterwards, within hours, it was announced he would be named the ambassador to the United Nations. So either Trump was very angry with him and was concerned with this breach of the national security law about classification, for which many people have been prosecuted and some have been imprisoned, or not. It appears or not is the answer. So the Signal Gate scandal just continues to have a life of its own and unravel.
Yeah, I mean, it began with, of course, with Jeff Goldberg at the Atlantic being included on a chat that he should not have been on, and then Jeff actually having the courage to actually print what they had said, showing that it was an extraordinary breach of national security. And it goes on and on and on. Another person on that call, though, who has not been demoted was Pete Hegseth. Somehow Pete Hegseth seems to be immune from any kind of charges about all of this, or immune certainly from Trump's anger.
Well, first I should say, Jeffrey Goldberg made a point of not speaking on the Signal Chat, and that might be unfortunate because he might have had better advice than the whole rest of them.
Right.
And they might have listened to him. And for
he
many,
he could have backed up J.D. Vance. I mean, J.D. Vance said this is all a mistake, and Jeff should have said, yes, you're right, Mr. Vice President. Right.
Well, Jeff is not a sycophant, we know. And even though he's never been in government, he actually has more experience than many of the people who were on the chat. But back to Pete Hegseth, who was revealed also to have his wife and brother-in-law on another Signal Chat. Apparently, he brings his wife everywhere because his wife brings him everywhere. She's got an eagle eye over him. She doesn't trust him. She's known inside the Pentagon as the human leash, and also as his parole officer. And some people have, I don't want to make you laugh, Sean, but some people have called her Yoko Ono.
No, don't. That's truly a slander on Yoko. Really.
Good. I'm glad you've.
It's outrageous.
Yes, I'm glad that you
cut that one out. Yeah,
you're defending.
I mean that. I'm being perfectly serious, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's right. So, so on that chat, what we saw, among other things, was the pecking order and the revelation of the state of mind and play of the Trump administration national security team, and it was a sight to behold. We saw Vice President J.D. Vance basically out of the loop, holding forth on how he didn't disagree and hadn't actually weighed in before this, discussion on Signal. And then, really interesting, who was the decision maker on it? Was it the Secretary of State, Little Marco? No. Was it Mike Waltz, who was sycophantic even on the call? No, the decision maker to whom they deferred was none other than Stephen Miller on the call, a presidential advisor, apparently without portfolio, and essentially the acting president of the United States. And they turned to him, and he gives the go-ahead, more or less, and he conveys what he says, I heard from the president. Well, I don't know why the president doesn't give an order for a military operation and it's clear. Now, one other thing that's interesting about all this is, on that chat and all through this, there's no one from the military.
Right.
They had gutted, among other things, the JAG officers running the whole legal department, and they had fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and other flag officers. They particularly go after women, up and down the line.
Right.
And I'm told by people,
actually, and African Americans too, right?
and yes, and he's the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Brown, was an African American, and the grounds on which he was fired was that he was a supporter of DEI, because he had given a speech against inequality. Apparently, made a statement. So we're well aware of that. Mike Waltz's notable contribution to the discussion on Signal Chat was 3 emojis: a fist, a flag, and a fire. Now Trump blamed him, apparently.
Yes, he was the fall guy in the end. Yeah,
he's the designated fall guy. I think Trump did not really trust him to begin with. He had been very pro-Ukraine when he had been in the Congress, and despite his a complete fealty to Trump inside the administration, he had committed a cardinal sin. And what was it? Apparently, he's the one who was talking to Jeffrey Goldberg. And now this is a normal Washington occurrence for journalists to talk to people, and there's access, and this is how people learn what's going on. It's also how the government conveys what it's doing to the American people, in great part, is through the press.
Right.
But to Trump, Waltz had committed a grievous, unpardonable sin. But was it unpardonable? Because Hegseth, who was, still there, who
was the relevant cabinet officer above all, who was there,
right, and who has doubled his scandal,
right,
with another Signalgate scandal with his wife and brother-in-law, and is hopeless. And apparently, I am told by people from inside the Pentagon, spends all of his time concerned about leaks and giving people lie detector tests, and also appearing in the press and not doing his job. He's created a makeup studio in the Pentagon.
Makeup studio.
This has escaped Elon Musk and Doge and their cost cutting. Waltz is the fall guy here. But what happened to Waltz? He's fired, but then not fired, and then appointed ambassador to the United Nations, an esteemed position.
Now, is that because, now that I wanted to ask you about, is that showing contempt for the United Nations to take a disgraced person and make him the ambassador, or is there something else going on here?
Well, there's no question that Trump considers the United Nations irrelevant and beside the point, because it involves other nations.
Yeah, I mean, some ways it's not so much a demotion; it's rubbing it in. I mean, he's just showing.
In Trump's term, in Trump's term, that it may be a punishment. Yeah. And while Waltz is the fall guy, among those he's fallen on is Elise Stefanik.
Of all people.
Of all people.
Right.
The safes keep dropping from, the top of buildings.
Right.
Elise Stefanik.
It's a Roadrunner clip. You have to see this as a Roadrunner.
It is. Because she was promised this, but because the Republicans did so poorly in the elections, the margins are razor thin in the House, and they feel that they had needed her for an upcoming vote on their big tax cut for the wealthy, the billionaire bonus bill or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And they needed her vote. And so they withdrew the offer for her to be United Nations ambassador. But in the meantime, she'd been in the leadership, head of the House Republican Conference, replacing Liz Cheney, who had been defenestrated. Elise Stefanik now is at war with Mike Johnson in the House. She has no leadership position. She has, as they say, formally bupkis. And now Mike Waltz has the position that she had been promised. So in the House, there's a lot of bad feeling over bad faith. And the fracturing just continues.
If I was Elise Stefanik, I would think about getting a job at the Kennedy School at Harvard University. That might be a real way to get back at the Trump administration.
Now, why would you say that, Sean? About Trump has his problems with Harvard, doesn't he? But
yeah.
Why would you mention that about?
Well, it has. Harvard has its problems.
Our friend Elise Stefanik and
Harvard has its problems with Elise, which I mean, it'd be a wonderful rapprochement, a real sign of solidarity against the Trump administration if the Stefanik Harvard axis somehow got together. Because of course, Elise Stefanik was the questioner, the hench person to go after the three university presidents way back before the election on the question of anti-Semitism. She really grilled them hard, and their answers were not very good. But nevertheless, that was her. What shall we say? She was coming out. She was making her bones, if you will, with the Trump administration by doing this. And
was a ticket to ride.
Ticket to ride, and she was going to ride it right to West 42nd Street, but then it didn't work out. So we'll see.
And then what did she was at had been at the Institute of Politics at the Kennedy School, and they had deemed her a person no longer wanted there.
Yeah,
so she had a personal animus.
Well, I know that's true. She was very angry at Harvard in particular. But this is a time in the name of solidarity for bygones to be bygones, and we can figure out a way to bring these people together. I don't know. This is an idle speculation. But look, we have much more speculation to go down the line. The Signal chat will continue. We'll see what happens with Secretary Hegseth. In the meantime, we welcome you back to see our next episode of Court of History.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.